Okay, so I think we are live with the AC show. Can I get some comments just to make sure everyone can see us? All right. Okay, so the AC show is a show with myself, Mr. Carroll Science, and my good friend Aaron, the handy outdoor nerd.
How's it going?
Basically, because his name's Aaron and my name's Chris, we decided to call it the AC show. The coolest show on YouTube. We're going to be talking about a lot of things 3D printed today. We have quite a few things planned. We've got a segment called Cool Prints coming up. We've got a segment called The Condenser, where we're going to take some of the top 3D printing and maker news stories out there and let you guys know. And then we've also got a segment called Throwing Shade, where we are going to take some products that maybe you wouldn't think are very cool, and we're going to try and convince the other person that they are actually cool. So it's going to be pretty awesome. So without further ado, I guess let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about some cool prints. Let's talk about some prints that we are doing ourselves and maybe some cool prints that we found in the community. You got anything you want to talk about first, Aaron?
You go ahead and go ahead. I'm gonna pull some stuff up here on my side.
Okay. So first off, I want to talk about a project that I started for my classroom. I started this a few weeks ago, and I still haven't quite finished it, but I am working on it. I am going to make a mural with a bunch of symbols from different super nerdy things that I really like. So I'll show you guys some of these. They're not glued yet, so hopefully they don't fall apart too badly, but I've got, let's see. I've got this Spider-Man coaster, and I've got, oh yeah, what's that? What's that? Look at that. Pretty sweet. I've got the Incredible Hulk here, if I can get his mouth to fit back in. There we go. Incredible Hulk. I've got the Flash. And I've got this right here. I don't know if anybody can tell what that is. Can you tell what that is, Aaron?
Looks like the arc reactor.
That's what it is. That's a Tony Stark arc reactor, or a Stark reactor, as I like to call it. And yeah, so I'm going to take all of these little coasters that I printed, and I'm going to put them on a canvas, and I'm going to hang it up in my room as like a wall decoration. So that's kind of one thing that I've been working on. I've got a few other things that I've been working on too, but I don't want to spoil it because they're going to be made into some videos, and so I don't want everyone to see them just yet. Yeah, see, it's hard to talk about stuff that I'm printing right now because when I 3D print stuff, a lot of times I want to make a video out of it, and I don't want to ruin the surprise. But
I feel the same way.
Cosmic Dumpster, where's my super suit? If I can find a good Frozone like emblem to put on a coaster, I will definitely. That would be really cool. That would be really cool. Where's my super suit? Honey, we're talking about the greater good. The greater good? I'm the greatest good you'll ever have. Oh, man. That would be a good idea. What about some cool 3D prints that you found in the community recently? Have you seen anything?
I have seen a couple. Oh, this has been a pain. Give me just a second. There we go. The problem is I've got a lot on my phone, which doesn't do me any good. But I've also saved a lot to other stuff. It's been kind of a busy week for me, so that's the unfortunate thing. Um, my son's getting ready to turn 1 years old, so it's kind of go 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 for his party around my house. So I'm kind of shuffling a million different things, and we decided to do this more frequently, and so I'm just like let's see.
That's right, Cosmic Dumpster. The shout out has to be earned. You can't ask for it. If it's a comment that's worthy to be shouted out, it'll get shouted out. But it's got to be real good.
All right, let me pop this up to share my screen, and then I'll pop it over. So you go ahead and pop her up.
Yep.
I can't see anything, so you'll just have to tell me when it's up.
Yeah. Oh no, it's up. It's up.
Okay. So I'm scrolling around looking through things on Thingiverse and other places because in 3 weeks here in Missouri in Springfield, I'm going to be attempting to do a booth at the Mini Maker Faire. So I'm trying to get a whole bunch of different things together since I was originally planning on doing this. Then it came up that I wasn't going to be able to do it. Now that that fell through, I'm going to be able to do it again. So I've got a 3-week period of printing with 2 printers that I got to get stuff out. So this flying sea turtle has been advertised on Thingiverse for a little while, and don't know about you, but I think it's actually really cool. You can print in a couple parts. They actually give you a little diagram on it right there on how to put it together, which I've not actually seen prints where they actually walk you through the stage. But here are all the pieces. This is the crank, this is the little crankshaft, and here's your gear that turn these, which also intend to turn all these pieces. Excuse me. So I think that is pretty darn cool. And
it's pretty sweet. Yeah. So the goal is that once you print all these pieces, you turn the crank and it makes the sea turtle flap its wings, right?
Yeah. You see it kind of moving up and down and moving its flippers. So here is this video. This is what it looks like when it's moving. So that moves forward and back. But then it goes like that, like it's actually swimming.
That looks way cool.
That is pretty cool.
That is way cool.
Let's see. That's that. What I want. This is what I want. So I'm pretty sure most everybody knows JMT. You know who he is, Chris?
Joe Mike Tarantellia or something.
Joe Mike. Yeah.
Something like that.
I've got my printers on a shelf. And the problem with having printers on a shelf that I have, you get your stacking shelves. I don't have a good spot for my filament to go set. And I'm going to actually print this right here. This is a automatic rewinder. So whenever it goes to kick back the filament back out as it does retractions, what it does is it actually takes that slack out and it winds it back. So what you get is preventing it from doing that back feed, which can tangle up your filament and cause it to go under itself and not up to where you get a failed print.
So what causes it to wind back up? Is there some sort of a spring in there, or just the shape of the?
See this white right here? It's a 3D printed spring out of PLA. So and he says he recommends PLA because PETG and ABS won't work like PLA does. So you literally 3D print. Now this is in a rep box, a rep core box.
Right.
So that's kind of what it's actually for. But I'm gonna modify and do a print so it will go off from the shelf and hold it where I want, and then I can just feed it down into my printers and do it that way. So that's one thing I'm going to be printing here sometime soon.
Sweet.
So instead of the stand, so that's the spring.
That's
itself.
the spring. Yeah.
So I'll print all but this stand. This stand's the one thing I'm not going to be using.
Nice.
So that I'll be doing. Let's see, and then I've also printed this. Well, not the plywood, obviously. So this is the X3D XS Core XY printer. This was made back in 2015. And I don't want to play the video. So it's a common Core XY printer, just out of wood. They use an Xbox power for that. And
is that a ramps board?
Yeah, they got a ramps board down there. And what I want to set that down there because we all know as we go to print stuff, filament will drop down below over on the sides.
Right. Well, I mean, I wonder if you could probably just print like a cover for it or something like that.
Oh, yeah. But my plan is to actually have the base part set with a gap and then just kind of have part cut out so you have legs, so you have a bunch of airflow through down there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my plan. But I've actually 3D printed all these parts that I need for this on my KeyDTech printer.
Right. So you've 3D printed all the parts you need to build another 3D printer, essentially.
Yep.
Just the electronics. How much would the electronics cost for something like that?
I don't know because I've already got the electronics. So I'm going to take my PrintRBot. I'm going to modify my PrintRBot, just take and kind of strip it down, and all the hardware for that is going to go into this one. So the things that I've done with a couple of these, like this piece right here, I printed this in ABS. And this is the actually only piece I've not done. This piece right here is the little base plate that your heated bed sets on. So they've got this, but it's actually, there's a file to do it out of plywood, and plywood makes it really heavy, and I'm not going to do plywood. So this piece right here I printed as well on my KeyDTech. My KeyDTech can only print 150 by 150 by 150. So I had to actually slice it. So I sliced it in Idea Maker at an angle right here and print it in 2 pieces. And so I'm going to do an ABS acetone slurry to glue all that together. So I'm going to be doing a video hopefully on this some point in time soon to get it kind of knocked out so I can actually print it. I can't remember if there's any other prints. Oh yes, and Sonic. I'm going to be printing a Sonic the Hedgehog because I'm a big nerd. But this is from Chaos Cortec. He partnered with another guy.
Yeah, I really want to print his Mega Man model. Looks super cool.
And here, so I've got a lot of things that I want to print that I'm going to be doing.
Right.
So I've got solar set up, my solar panel set up, and which helps a lot on the electric bill out here. So I want to do wind turbine as well. So I'm actually thinking about printing some wind turbines and doing some tests and getting everything figured out there. So I'll be doing that. And I did some torture tests, which didn't turn out very well because I forgot to put Z-Hop on when I did the torture test.
And so it knocked it over?
It was spaghetti. So, and you want to go ahead and shut that off so they don't get inception?
Yep.
Here, I think I can stop sharing. There we go. Should have stopped it.
Yeah, well, it's off, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's off the thing. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. That's kind of what I've got in the works. I've got a few things. Oh, I just remembered. I do have a few things that I've printed recently. I had one of my printers go down, and I found out the reason why it went down is because I had a piece that snapped in half, and it turns out that parts of your printer, when they snap in half, they stop working.
Yep.
So, yeah, for some reason, I don't know why that happens that way. So I was able to 3D print some replacement parts. And so I 3D printed some parts for my 3D printer and got it back up and running, which is really cool. And I have been printing some of these, which is, so what I'm doing is I'm building an enclosure for my printer. So essentially, I've got some foam core board that I've got some foam core board that I cut out to fit on the sides of like a little side table that you get from IKEA. It's called a lack table. And so what I've done is I've 3D printed these little things that extend the legs of the lack table to make it a little taller, so it'll fit over my printer. And so now I've got 2 printers that are covered by tables, and I've got 2 printers on top. So I've got essentially 4 3D printers on one little table, which is pretty cool. It's kind of an awesome sight to look over and see 4 printers. Only 3 of them work right now because I'm having some issues with a Robo 3D printer, but I had 3 printers all printing at the same time the other day, so that's really cool. But yeah, I guess ready to move on to the next segment.
Yes. I actually see if I can't log into. My brain's trying to work. Pinterest.
Okay, so the next segment we're going to do is called the condenser. So the condenser is basically we're going to take a whole bunch of news stories from the 3D printing and making community, and we're going to combine them into one kind of short, just a few minutes. We'll talk about the some of the most popular news stories that I could find. So I am actually going to link my screen now. We're gonna have some weird Inception stuff going on, but it will be worth it. I promise. Block that. So let's see, share screen. Okay, so here we go. So I found a few different news stories. One of them is this one right here. So Relativity Space is a company that actually 3D prints rockets, and they actually just signed their first customer where they're going to be consistently using 3D printed rockets to launch satellites up into space, which is pretty cool. 3D printing technology is being used in a lot of different places, and so to be able to 3D print an actual rocket and use it to go up into outer space, I think that's pretty sick. I don't know. Have you heard about this?
I want to say barely. I've heard about it some.
Well, it's new. These are the breaking news stories. Let's see. Another one that I really thought was cool is 3D Systems just got FDA approved to be able to print anatomical models that are specific for patients. So essentially we're talking about, imagine someone has like a brain tumor, which is in a really dangerous area of the brain to be able to operate. So they can take these 3D scans like MRIs and CAT scans and stuff, and they can build a 3-dimensional model of that brain tumor and the rest of your brain. And then they can do 2 things. Number 1, they can build a 3-dimensional environment and render this 3-dimensional environment. And the surgeon can put on VR goggles so they can essentially virtually do the surgery before they ever actually touch the patient. So they're more likely to see what are some issues they're going to run into, what are some problems, where are different parts of the brain located or whatever. And they can 3D print an anatomical model of that tumor so they can look at the tumor, see how it actually breaks apart before they ever actually start operating on the patient. So, I mean, these procedures are so dangerous anyways. Being able to see that 3D model and use that 3D model before you actually touch the patient and being able to do it in VR, I mean, this is what 3D printing and virtual reality is. I mean, that it doesn't get any better than that to me.
Oh no, it does not. And don't judge me on this. So with this, you know, you can do the 3D scan and you get your 3D model. It makes me think of the episode in Grey's Anatomy my wife watches, where they had this big 3D printer and there was this huge tumor.
You're cutting out, Aaron. I can't hear you, Aaron. You are back.
I'm back. Okay.
Yep.
1 second. Tangled up in my cord. There we go. All right. So, what was the last thing you heard me say?
There was a huge tumor.
Okay, yeah, there is a huge tumor. So you say this is the heart model. They had the tumor kind of going up and around and down, just kind of all surrounding the heart. And in it, they did the scan and they had the parts print, which they didn't do it right with how 3D printing actually works. They didn't have supports all over and everything like you would actually do, but they had the separate models and stuff, and they didn't have it all, you know, clean up because they wanted to make it look high tech fancy, which 3D printing is fairly high tech in certain aspects. But they were able to get that 3D scan of it and then separate them and just see where they intertwined and everything so they could do this surgery. And my thought was, yes, we will be able to get to that point in time with 3D modeling and scanning and printing. But one, yes, you will need to use a high price printer and you'd have to use high price scanning methods. Excuse me. Because just getting into that detail of scanning through it, you'd have to have some sort of thing to get in to get every little bit. Say, like to do certain scans, they have you drink a nasty fluid that gets all up in you. And whenever they actually do the x-rays, they can see all your intestines and everything, see how all that's functioning.
Right. Yeah, it's like that dye.
They would have to insert some sort of safe dye to get properly diagnosed things like that done.
Well, so like for me, I don't know if I've ever told you this, Aaron, but I have a little thing in my brain that it's kind of like a tumor, and if it grows, I could die. Have I ever told you about this?
No, you haven't.
So like right in the center of my brain, I have something called a colloid cyst. It's basically like, what's the grossest way I can say this? It's a sack of moist mucus that's in the middle of my brain. And it's right in the place where my brain produces spinal fluid. So if it were to grow larger, it would actually stop the flow of spinal fluid from my brain down to my spine, and it would build up pressure in my brain and essentially crush my brain from the inside. And so when I first found out about this, I was 17 and I had fallen off of a four-wheeler and I got a concussion, and I went into the hospital. They did a CT scan. They found this thing. I had to go see all kinds of specialists. They thought that I was going to die. And finally, the doctor just looks at me and he said, I'm 17 years old. Doctor looks at me and says, so we have a few different options. One, we can stick a big needle in through your skull and suck the tumor out, but it's too small. I don't think we're going to be able to do that. Number two, we can drill a hole through your skull about the thickness of your pinky and go in endoscopically and try to remove it that way. Or number 3, we can slice some of your scalp open, remove some of the bones in your skull, and go in and remove the cyst. So I looked at the doctor and I said, do I have to decide right now? And he goes, no, I mean, you don't need to decide right now, but the faster we do the surgery, the faster we get it out of you. And I said, okay, I want a second opinion. And I went to another doctor and he said, I think it's a birth defect. And I was like, what? And he goes, basically, it's like a birthmark on your brain.
Huh.
He said, you've probably had this for your entire life. It's probably never going to grow. And you're probably not going to see any ill effects from it. And I was like, I like this doctor, you know? So it turned out, I think that doctor was right. They said, you need to go back and get another scan every 3 years or so, just to make sure that it's not growing. And every scan that I've had since then, it's been the same size. Nothing bad has happened. But when they do an MRI, they can set the layer thickness, because they basically they take an image at a certain depth of your brain when they do it, right? And so I think they did mine at, it was something like a 0.2 millimeter layer height, which is, I mean, a really common 3D printing layer height. And so a buddy, you know, Make It with Calvin, we were talking about the other day. How he wanted to take some scans of his knee, and he wanted to try to 3D print a model of his knee using his MRIs. And I just thought that was a really cool idea. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, talking about trying to get in there and be anatomically correct. I think we have the technology now. It really wouldn't be that hard.
We do, but I mean, so I don't know if you've seen, but they've got, you can see pictures and stuff that pop up now, you know, like Facebook news feeds. A blind woman, they 3D print the ultrasound so she can feel her baby's face on what it looks like.
Oh, right.
Well, first you got to do the 3D scan, and those things are a little pricey to do, the 3D scan of your child. But I mean, looking at the 3D scan, and yes, because it is with an ultrasound.
Right.
So I mean, it's a little different than the one that they do for just.
It's like VR sculpting, right?
I don't remember if it's a periscope or not, but either way, that it is more in depth, and you do see more of the baby's details to it.
Mm-hmm.
But they look ugly when you do a scan like that. A fetus just doesn't look like a normal person's face. I mean, they're growing, things are different, you know, and then you get your artifacts and interference with it, so you're not getting a clear scan like you would if, say, I were to just do a 3D scan of someone's face right now, like Chris's. If he were to be sitting there and I use something to scan him, I would get his face a lot better than you would that. That is almost like having a plastic wall that's kind of see-through, but a little cloudy, in trying to get a proper scan.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's see what else I got here. Let me go back. Okay. So that's really cool. Oh yeah, this is great. So this company has come up with a vegetarian 3D printed meat. And so basically, this company has raised $6 million to develop this 3D printed meat alternative so that you can 3D print a steak and then go out and grill it, I guess, a vegetarian steak. What are your thoughts on 3D printed food of this caliber here, Aaron? Are you there, Aaron?
Definitely wasn't expecting that. So my thoughts on 3D printed food is the same thoughts I have on stem cell grown laboratory meat. No.
No 3D printed
No.
meat, huh? Well, this is not. This is vegetarian meat. All right. This is not. This is not real meat.
No, I know it's not real meat. So, but it's meat flavored. And what they do to get that meat flavor is they use plant. There's a plant. There's an ingredient in the plant. I forget the name of it, but what it does is they say it gives the hamburger meat. It gives it that flavor of, so like when you go to cook meat, what do you get in the meat? You get the blood. So the blood is kind of helping with that flavor. Well, this actually is like a red colored type of dye from this plant, and it gives it that meaty flavor taste to it. I bet that is what they use.
That is, there. I thought that was hilarious. I had to put that in.
Oh my gosh, that's oh.
All right, I got one more. I got one more that I think is really, really going to blow your mind. Let's see. For some reason, this website thought that 3D printed bike seats were like really good idea. Okay, so anyways, so we're talking about 3D printed bridges now. So bridges have been 3D printed before. Usually they're 3D printed out of like concrete materials, where they basically have this big giant crane that pumps concrete into these channels. And so it's kind of the same thing as 3D printing. But this is actually using a technology called fiber reinforced polymer. So essentially we're talking about carbon fiber reinforced plastic that they say is not only stronger and lighter than steel, but they say it actually lasts longer than steel. And so it's a 3D printed bridge. What's that?
That would make sense because, I mean, depending on the plastic that they use, if they use more of like an ABS plastic or something that's going to withstand heat and not warp, which, I mean, yes, you got the fiber fill in there. So that would help. But it would make it lighter because you do have it out of plastic and out of metal, but you have fiber reinforcing it.
It's a Arnite glass filled thermoplastic PET. So it's a polyethylene.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's the PET without the G.
Right, without the glycol.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's really cool. The reason why I think this is such a cool thing is because these are bridges that you could actually print in place. So if you needed a bridge, you could design the bridge and you could take your 3D printer to the area where the bridge was needed and 3D print it in place instead of needing to, because a lot of times 3D printed bridges or structures are, they 3D print the panels and then they take those panels over to where they're actually constructing it and they assemble it over there. Whereas this could actually be printed in place, which is kind of cool.
And I've actually seen 3D printed, well, not in person, but 3D printed bridges where instead of doing the concrete one like that, it will print in place. So what it does is it's like welding. So it's got its little arm and stuff in it, is like a bead welder maybe. It's got it feeds it just like filament. It just keeps pushing through, and as it goes through and it makes that contact with the metal, it does its little weld. So it just keeps going back and forth and just, and that way as it goes on, you get your bridge.
Yeah, so Cosmic Dumpster asked, do you know about the plastic roads a company might start making? The roads are created with an interlocking system like Legos to make roads, and it can solve issues with plastic. It's pretty cool. I have actually heard of a similar thing. I haven't heard of that you're talking about specifically, but I have heard about a type of road that is made with these hexagonal solar panel bases. Have you heard of that? I was
thinking the same one.
And so they make these roads out of these hexagon shapes, that have solar panels built into them, but they also have pressure panels built into them. So as cars drive over them and they hit those pressure plates, it builds up electricity. And so the solar panels build up electricity from the sun, and then the pressure panels, as the cars drive down the road, it builds up electricity as well. And so it's a way of like powering a city with the roads. And so the roads kind of pay for themselves over time, I guess.
All right, I am doing this. Let's go ahead and pop mine up. Let me know when you're ready.
Oh, it's up.
All right. So this is what we're talking about. Solar roadway. So all this is solar, and the really cool thing, because I've actually followed this for quite a while, you see all these lines and everything. These are lights. They are actual lights. They illuminate, so you don't have to have paint being sprayed on.
So you don't paint lines on. I love that, because I don't know, this new paint they've been using here in my area, it's not reflective. And so at nighttime, like, you can't see it. And as soon as it starts raining and covers it up, it's just can't see it at all. The lines just disappear on the road. It's terrible.
Yeah, so this is one of the circuit board designs for it. Now here's something that's really cool. See this moose here? It's standing on one of the panels. Now what happens is whenever there's contact on a panel, it lights up. So this warns you if like a deer or a moose or something actually gets on it.
Can you imagine a car driving down the road and you'd see the tracks?
That would actually be really cool. I'd love to see that. Just a car going. It'd be kind of like Tron.
That would be sweet. That would be so sick.
So, but if I hit back and I go here, so this is an actual. They've actually made them. And this guy actually who invented them tested it, and he's driven tractors on it. And I mean, you can replace your driveway with this, and I mean, roads completely. And it's you can see it's rough pattern down in here. And I don't have the sound on for it. I mean, I didn't even share the sound, but
that's because I don't want to get a strike.
But you can see right there that it's, go back, there we go. So see all these little bumps on this panel here? Now, you know, before you go to cross the road where there's a crosswalk, they've got those little like yellow or reddish colored parts where they're bumpy. That's pretty much the exact same pattern that you're going to get there. So, I mean, you wouldn't want to ride your skateboard on it. It wouldn't work very well. But it'd be really good for vehicles. And what those bumps do is they allow water to kind of set down underneath. So you're not going to hydroplane.
Right. So it's like that Flintstones episode where they pave the road with rubber and they use their stone tires.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So essentially you'd be putting the grid pattern on the panels instead of, yeah.
And here's one thing that's really cool. You see this panel right here that's got no snow on it, one that's got snow on it, they are self-heating. They will melt the snow off. So you won't need to have snow plows going over on your roads. You won't need to be spreading salt everywhere.
Right.
This will make roads a lot safer. And you see these gaps in between, that is for water down to fall below. So you don't have to.
So on this same YouTube page, there is a video that makes a good point, a very expensive joke. I mean, because these panels, it would be so expensive to put these panels in the city. I mean, it would be one of those like what is it, the walls of Jericho, where each person went out and built the wall in front of their house. You know, it would be a very similar situation where, like, if you paid, instead of getting solar panels on your roof, which a lot of people are doing, you had solar panels put on the street that goes in front of your house. I mean, that would be a huge thing. But you know, to,
And then
to be able to do something of this magnitude is just expensive, man.
And as I said, as your driveway, you can put it as your driveway. But see right here, this little canal, that's for the water to come and drain into here, so it doesn't puddle up. It actually drains into here to the drainage system, so you won't have backed up water. You won't have roads just constantly covered. And
oh, wait, I think we can look at that. We can put comments up here. I didn't know that.
oh
Sweet.
yeah, oh, I knew about that.
I didn't know you could do that. Now I do. That's really cool.
So yeah, you can toss them up, but you got to manually toss them up.
It won't let me. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, but I didn't know you could do that. Now I know.
There you
It's
go.
really cool.
Check this out. This is the lighting of the little LEDs in it.
Okay, hold on. Sorry. Got it. Nice. I mean, that would be like, that'd be a super sick Christmas light display. You know what I mean? If you could put it around
Oh
that.
my gosh! Could you imagine if they set it up for like Christmas stuff? That would be really cool.
That would be so sweet. Have you heard of the Tesla solar panels that are roof tiles?
Yes.
So instead of having the ugly panels up on your roof, you actually have like regular, it looks like regular roof tiles, but they're solar panels.
Yes, I actually have, and they're stupid expensive.
Yeah.
They are ridiculously expensive.
Well, because they're made by Tesla. Tesla doesn't make cheap things.
No,
You know?
I know this, but they are ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, man, you should know this. I've got solar panels.
I didn't know you had solar panels.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. We talked about it before.
Yeah.
Like a long time ago though, but yeah, I knew that. All right. So that was third segment. We've got one more segment, guys. It's called Throwing Shade. Throwing shade is basically where we pick a product that does not look like it could be very useful, and we try to convince the other person that it is useful. And I've been looking forward to this for the entire show because I have found the most ridiculous thing, and I really want Aaron to try and sell me on it and tell me why this could actually be a really good thing. And it's going to be impossible because this is a terrible idea. Are you ready, Aaron?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. So my entry for throwing shade today, worst idea that I have ever seen, is as follows. It is, oh, hey, I forgot to show this.
Oh, that's not the worst idea.
Not the worst idea, great idea. Here we go. 3D
Oh, I
printed
saw that. Oh man.
clothing. 3D printed clothing. Okay, so this is, first of all, this is awful. Okay,
It is
We've
awful.
got the multi-million-dollar 3D printing conglomerate Stratasys Systems teaming up with leading-edge designers to create whatever the heck this is. I don't know what that is, but it looks like it's unisex. You know what I mean? Guy, girl, doesn't matter. Wear this 3D printed dress thing, which is awful. This student created a 3D printed shirt, and he's doing a real cool pose with it. Definitely awesome looking guy here. And this is how he said he would wear it outside. So he used, okay, this is the reasoning behind it. He used a flexible filament that is compostable. So he created a 3D printed shirt that biodegrades. My thought about this is this: a 3D printed shirt that biodegrades. What about
you're going to be naked at some point in time?
What about like cotton? Like cotton's natural. Like why not just wear a cotton shirt? I don't understand why it needs to be 3D printed. So he's got all these little slits and holes and stuff in it so that it will breathe better.
And obviously, he doesn't have any hair on his body, so it's not going to pull his hair. There's people out there that have hair all over their body. They have chest hair. I've got chest hair. That'll pull my hair, and that would not make me happy.
Oh, except for Aaron, this is your opportunity to sell this to me though, because
I don't know that I can sell that to you. That's the problem. Oh my gosh.
Ooh, the fashion.
The only upside to this is you just gotta hose it down to wash it. Just kind of get a little soap and water like you're washing your dog. And it breathes really well.
Well, see that, but then if it's biodegradable and compostable, if you hose it down, is it going to just dissolve off your body?
Well, my thought is if it's sitting there after a while and constantly sitting in it, it would biodegrade, because the biodegradable filament doesn't instantly biodegrade. I mean, if he did it out of PVA, then I'd have a problem with that. That would dissolve in pretty fast.
So I want to see this guy go out and play ultimate frisbee in this, because it seems like the thing this guy would do. Go out and play some ultimate frisbee. Nothing against ultimate frisbee. I love ultimate frisbee, but it just seems like something he would go do. Go out on the town, play ultimate frisbee with his little handbag,
handbag, 3D printed handbag that works.
I mean, 3D printed handbag, I could maybe see that because you're not going to go wash it or anything usually. And you can make some custom designs on it, give it to your girlfriend, whatever, store your frisbee in there. And I want this guy to start sweating. He gets done after his body's all chafed because of this horrible plastic on him. And the dye from the 3D printing filament, like staining his skin. That's what I want to see. Or the really cool sunburn that he would get when the sun filters through that sweet design in the shirt.
Well, if you look, they've both got 3D printed shorts. I mean, like the one right there in the middle, he's like leaning back, and you just kind of see it's 3D printed. But the other one, it looks like you can see like the almost looks like Angus got a hold of shorts, and like a little lattice thing to it.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, so anyways, let's go back here.
Oh my god.
What do you got? What do you got for me, Aaron? Because that's pretty ridiculous,
let's
man.
see if I can find it, which was actually 3D printed clothing as well. I'll skip over this one because that looks like a 3D printed bra. I'm not going to do that. But here it is. Here it is. All right. Let me share my screen. All right.
It's up.
All right. Do you ever have the urge to become Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon?
No.
Well, you can't. You can beat Toothless pretty much with this 3D printed outfit.
Now let me just say though, like I'm not against having 3D printed things on an outfit, because I understand there's a lot of people who do cosplay and stuff like that. Now, is it an everyday wear? Probably not, but having some spikes on your clothing, I could see why people would want to do that for like cosplay. You go to some sort of Rep Rap festival or Comic-Con or something, 3D printing designs on fabric. I could see that'd be really cool. My question is just like, I don't know, like there has to be some, these are 3D printed a different way though, right? So like the way that these are made they're 3D printed on top of a piece of fabric. It's not a fully 3D printed.
So this one right here, this is a little bit different. Parts of it are printed on the fabric. You can kind of see the change of the skin color there, as you can see white through there. But this is actually flexible. So I had found one to where you actually see that. I can find it. It's not going to do me any good. Okay. So this is how it works. So you got all your little squares and patterns, your different shapes.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your square here. So then see it moves in that direction, but can also move in that direction. So then you have the little gaps. Same with this. So they set in a tighter pattern. But see, this is kind of the pattern she has on that dress. So they flex out. So not only is the material possibly a flexible filament, you can get away with a non-flexible filament. But it's
Because
more
there's
likely,
flex built into the design. It's like a chainmail.
yeah. So pretty much like chainmail. And see, it doesn't matter on your design here. They will flex in different ways, but that is how that actually works. So you got your different shapes that allow you to have different patterns to make something like that. See how they're spread apart down here, but
Mm-hmm.
as you go up, they are together. So there was one that I found, and I don't know where it's at, but this was actually like pulled out from the body. You can actually see it stretched out like a foot or so away from the body on how much give it had. So I mean, it is forgiving on on the shape, so it will actually hug you. But if you're that person, you're gonna want to wear Spanx underneath it to. And
sometimes,
this
some people just
specific
maybe don't need a hug.
model. It's going to be a little bit different for that person wearing something compared to your everyday normal Joe.
Right. Right. So Ben's asking, how is it teaching robotics? Well, it's fun. I enjoy it. I get to play with toys all day long, and there's not a lot of people that get to have that as their job. So that's one thing I really love. I get to come to work and play all day. So I think we're about coming to an end on the second edition of the AC show. It is after midnight, and I got to get home and get some sleep because I got to wake up for school in the morning. Is there anything else that you wanted to do while we're here? AC, the coolest.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I shared this. I told BV3D about the AC show. I said that they're the it's the coolest show on YouTube. He goes, AC coolest. I see what you did there. And so he actually looked up the AC show on YouTube, and he could finding it wasn't what he was looking for on this. So I sent him he's like, that is completely different than what I was finding.
Yeah. Let me just say, our YouTube channels are not nearly big enough that you can search the name of the show and you're going to find it.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody who hung out until the end of the show.
Yeah,
really appreciate it. This is going to be a weekly thing. This week it's going to be on my channel. Next week we're going to be over on Aaron, aka the Handy Outdoor Nerds channel. If you are not subscribed to him, please do so as soon as possible. Really cool maker, does a lot of really awesome things, and a good buddy of mine. So I guess that's it, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you everybody for coming on. Take care.
See you. Stay cool.
Stay cool out there because it's hot.